isn't that wonderful? A wonderful truth. Great is his faithfulness. Well, this morning we have Justin with us, Justin Kayne, and he's been someone who grew up in the church. So Justin has been around from the time that he was a little tyke and has been faithful, a man of God, a teacher in our school, and he has a wonderful testimony that he's going to share with us this morning.
Thank you, Pastor Charlie. All right, let's get into this. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this morning and to share my journey with you all up until this point in my life. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Justin Kayne, and I have been a member of the Lighthouse Church for 30 years. In other words, since birth. I was incredibly blessed with two amazing parents who are indeed a great deal responsible for who I am today, and they instilled in me various character traits that I developed along the way. I grew up in the Lighthouse and experienced many wonderful things and friendships and blessings. However, I also experienced various ups and downs. At an early age, my dad became a pastor and we pioneered a church in Culver City. And although it was only a few miles away, it brought about various changes in my life that I wasn't all too excited about at the time. Leaving the church in Santa Monica was difficult, and the reality of not seeing my friends became all the more real when we started an extension of the Lighthouse Church School in Culver City. I was in the 4th grade, and I remember waking up many mornings wondering why I had to go to a new school. And daily, I thought about my friends and all of the fun experiences and memories I was missing out on. I remember hearing stories and seeing pictures of the things that my friends were doing. And to be completely honest, I felt left out and replaced, so to speak, by newcomers to my old school. Although this situation was not easy, I could visibly see the dedication and commitment in which my parents put forth into establishing the church, and most importantly, their love and compassion for people. After a couple years of pastoring, we returned to the Lighthouse Church in Santa Monica, and ultimately I only spent 1 year away from my old school. Returning back to school was one of the ups in my life, especially during the 6th grade when I had the opportunity of having Josh Gilberts as my teacher. This was one of the best years of my life, and school was exciting with Josh Gilberts as a teacher, regardless of how many times he threw my football cleats out the window for leaving them in the middle aisle. I looked up to Josh not only because he was a rad dude and a ton of fun, but he instilled godly characteristics in me and helped me to overcome certain fears through teachings in the classroom and also through off-campus field trips and campouts at DJ Surf Camp. In middle school, I became very close with Zach Scribner, and although we were already good friends, we became inseparable, and he is a major reason why I am standing in front of you today. I had some very rough years in my life, and I made some decisions that were not beneficial. However, through all of that, Zach stuck by my side and gave me incredible advice and encouraged me, not only with words, but with actions as well. My rough years started in high school, where I began to distance myself from what I was taught and began to experiment with things that I knew were harmful and quite frankly stupid. I began to drink, smoke weed, and involve myself in relationships that were unhealthy. But what hurt me much more than this was the pride and hard heart I developed in this process. I was not disrespectful or in-your-face rebellious, but I had allowed myself to let pride sneak in, and I was frustrated with having to do the church thing, so to speak. If you knew me in high school, what I really cared about was football, like many others. And in many ways, I believe sports were my saving grace. I ate, drank, and dreamt about football, and everything I did was with playing football in mind. Nothing gave me greater joy than stepping onto the field with my best friends, and there was something special about the hard work and days of agony that went into preparing for the season or an upcoming game. It was through football and the individuals that invested in me that I learned the true meaning of my calling, along with discipline and responsibility. I had numerous mentors that shaped my life on the field, such as George Neos, Ben Jenkins, Nate Scribner, Dickie Cornett, Clayton Summer, Pastor Rob, and Chris Christian. I also had many others who took the time and invested in my life outside of football, such as Josh Young and Peter Caesar. These men all had a tremendous impact on my life, and through all the tough times I endured, they never failed to encourage me or to pick me up when I was down. The love and words of wisdom these men spoke in my life daily was something that stuck, and I turned a corner in my life due to their investment. I remember the weekly conversations I had with Peter Caesar as he took time out of his week to take myself and a few other guys to breakfast and shared his insight and wisdom on the attributes of God. I remember walking into George Niels' office daily just to talk and seek advice, and also to talk about football and to watch film. I remember George giving up his lunchtime to tutor me in math, simply because he wanted to see me succeed. I remember when Ben Jenkins would hang with us at lunch, although he was a teacher, and the time he took to write me a detailed letter in a time where I saw very little purpose in life. I remember my dad never missing a football game, regardless if that meant taking a day off of work. I remember the countless conversations I had with my mom and the incredible ability to be transparent with her and the wisdom and the encouragement that she shared with me daily. It was through these moments and opportunities that I began to develop a calling, and God began to move in my life and in my heart. In high school, my friends would all tell me I was either going to be a teacher or a pastor, and I always replied with, I'm definitely not going to be either of those. When I graduated high school, I went to Santa Monica College and made the football team. I played in one game, and shortly after, I got hurt during a workout session in the weight room. It was at this point that I had a decision to make. I could wait in rehab to get back, or I could move on with the idea of playing football. This was a God moment in my life, and during this injury, Nate Scribner asked me to be an assistant coach for the LCA football team. I distinctly remember halfway through the first game of being an assistant coach when Nate walked up to me and said, "Hey, Justin, I don't have a lot of time right now, and I'm super busy with school. How would you feel about being the head coach?" I was nervous and excited all at the same time, but by the second game of that season, I was the head coach and was calling all the plays at the age of 19. Thankfully, God blessed me with some amazing athletes and the ability to even coach my little brother, which is something that I'm beyond grateful for till this day. After a few years of coaching, I spent time in prayer and understood that God was pointing me in the direction of teaching. And so I changed my major from science to history and eventually graduated from Long Beach State and was offered a job from Josh Scribner to be the teacher for the middle school upon graduating. During the early years of college, I also partnered with Zach Scribner and various others and became a youth leader, and I thoroughly developed a heart for the youth and our next generation. Through the experiences I had and the various individuals that had mentored me in life, I began to understand the importance and value of investing in the next generation. It will be 5 years and a month from now that I will have been a teacher, and a little over 3 years now that I've been one of the youth pastors and have partnered with some amazing individuals such as Lucas, Zach, Giovanna, Josh, Jenny, Abe, and various others. I believe God has called me to have an impact on the youth and to encourage them, just like I was when I was going through some very difficult and pivotal years in my life. You see, the common theme or thread in all the people that I've mentioned today is sacrifice and a willingness to serve others as opposed to only focusing on themselves. I want to be like those men and women that dedicated their time and energy into my life, regardless of what it cost them, and even if that meant sacrificing the bigger house, the better car, or more time to focus on their own hobbies, families, or desires. God has had such a tremendous impact on my life, and serving God has been the greatest blessing and opportunity that I've ever been given. I want to share that excitement with the next generation, and I want them to understand that serving God is the greatest adventure you could ever go on, and I know that from experience. In essence, I believe my calling and our calling as Christians is to impact people, and Jesus came for one reason, and that was to serve. I find a tremendous amount of joy in spending time with the youth, and I feel incredibly blessed to have the opportunity to influence their lives and impact them in a manner that encourages them towards things that are meaningful and lasting. God is moving in our school and in the youth group, and this for me is something that is not only an answer to prayer, but it is a testimony of what happens when you remain. In closing, I leave you with 2 Bible verses that I believe sum up my calling at this point in life. The first is Matthew 20:28, which says, "Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many." I believe my calling is to serve. And secondly, John 15:4, which says, "Remain in me, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither you can bear fruit unless you remain in me." I believe I've been called to remain. And in that, I mean to have relationships with others that are encouraging and push others towards God. You see, in my life today, I have some incredible friends and mentors, such as Zach Scribner, Josh Scribner, Lucas Morita, Felipe Rodriguez, Junior Cervantes, Josh Young, and of course, my amazing parents, Ray and Kathy Kayne. In summing it up, I encourage you to look for opportunities to serve and to remain, because there's a tremendous blessing and richness that comes from these two actions. And if it looks like I am putting in a plug for our newly introduced life groups, well, I am. We want to be a part of your lives and to have the opportunity to do life with you if you're watching. And ultimately, we want to encourage you. That's all I have for you this morning. Thank you for tuning in and giving me this opportunity to share my story. God bless you all.